Hello, BookTube. Well, we're going to do another bookshelf tour, but I wanted to break from the east wall. So we're going to do the west wall. We're going to do the skinny west wall bookcase. Sorry very much for the lighting. There's a dark, cold, wet nor'easter clamping down on Boston today, so there's precious little in the way of light. But as usual, we're going to start with the transverse books to get them out of the way, because I put books sideways on top of books if there's room. And the first one is something I found at a thrift shop just late last year that came as a great surprise to me. This is Little Journeys in Literature, and it's one book in a series of looks at American literature, and I thought, okay, well, it's charming. It's got the flexible leather. I'm sure it will have tons and tons of authors who were current at the time, but are now gone. And I love reading about such people. But I lucked out, because this volume is not only that. It's written by Helen Winslow, who kind of needs to be seen to be believed. Let me. There is herself. And it's all about Boston and New England authors of a bygone era. It's all about authors that I know extremely well, and I'd never even heard that this book existed. So I get to read about them from a new perspective and a whole bunch of new names. I loved it. It immediately had a place in this room. And then the next one is Lytton Strachey. This is Biographical Essays. This is a paperback collection of biographical sketches by the man who did Eminent Victorians, and who also did a short biography of Queen Victoria, and those two things cemented his career as a biographer. But he was able to do deadline literary work all the time, writing biographical pieces, and this collects them. I've never been able to find a really good. I wish there were a nice, as usual, I wish there were a nice big Penguin Classic of all of. I mean, Eminent Victorians and the Queen Victoria books are small enough so that they could be in one Penguin Classic. You could do a big one called Lytton Strachey and just have lives by him, these and those. But in the meantime, I'll take a paperback. Those are the transverse books. And then we have the skinny west wall bookcase has tall slots. Taller than my normal bookcases. So I've taken advantage of that to put a lot of my oversized books on these shelves. And the first one is definitely one of those. It's this. The Marble Index. It's a big art book of 18th century British portrait sculpture, which is going to sound like a sleeping pill, I'm sure, to a lot of you, but I love sculpture. It's my favorite of the arts, and I think it hit its high point in modern times in the 18th century. So I had no idea this book was coming, and then it arrived in the mail and just thrilled me. And I read it, and I loved it, and I reread it, and of course it came straight in here. And then another oversized book. This is on a subject that we've seen before here in this room. This is another book on the Marsh. This is the Life of the Marsh, an old entry in the Our Living World of Nature series that I think Time Life did. McGraw-Hill did this, and it's just full of color photos and snapshots of the various different moods of the salt marsh, which I just love them, so I got that. And then an oddity that I found. This is, I don't know if you can read this in the lighting. This is Pliny, a self-portrait. And what this is a slipcase book, and what this book does is take the letters of Pliny the Younger, which are great. They're an amazing work of classical literature. They sort of get second seat to Cicero's letters, but they're every bit as fascinating. And this book, who did this? This is a special thing for the Folio Society. Yes, the Folio Society. They give you his letters and sort of arrange them, highlight them in order to make Pliny come alive as a person. It's a really inspired idea, and I think they did it really well. I wish that other classical writers got this kind of treatment, especially the ones that are lesser known. And then, of course, a Venice book. You encounter a lot of those in my library. This one is by Julian Halsby, and it's Venice, the Artist's Vision. What's the best way to get the lighting on this thing? Well, there's probably no good way. And this is a slightly larger book that takes us through artists' impressions of Venice over the centuries and reprints their work. So as opposed to, for instance, a normal large history of Venice might give you some artwork, but it wouldn't concentrate on how artists conveyed Venice to the rest of the world, to the world that hadn't been there yet. And this one does only that. And then we've mentioned this on this channel before. This is the annotated Edgar Allan Poe. I absolutely love these annotated volumes. Let me show you what this one looks like. This one is from 2015. They have the text of whatever you get for Poe, and then always illustrations, tons of illustrations, and then running commentary on the text of every single work, annotating it, explaining it, fleshing out the sources and whatnot. And I love all of the annotated these big things from the Belknap Press of Harvard University Press. I love them all. They're all fantastic, but every once in a while, I think they hit one out of the park, and they did that with this Poe. This turned out to be the Edgar Allan Poe version that I wanted, just in general, of his work. So I brought it right in here. And then we have, this is a biography. This is Chronicle of a Pharaoh. This is a very skinny but heavily illustrated life of Amenhotep. This is Amenhotep III, who was a great pharaoh, ruled for a long time. I just like the author is Joan Fletcher, and I just love the brio of the thing, so I brought it in here. And so, sort of unofficially, actually, in this bookcase, as we will see, sort of unofficially, this bookcase has kind of become a biography bookcase. And I've often thought about rearranging things. I'm going to rearrange things because of these book tours. I've often thought about just making a couple of these bookcases biography bookcases, and maybe import a lot of the stuff from out in the other room that I love perhaps more than some of the books in this room. Then we have an oversized volume of Audubon's Wildlife. You really can't do Audubon except oversized. So I have a couple of oversized Audubon. I mean, you see them all the time. You'll see little books, even some very small books, reprinting his stuff. But I prefer, like for instance, look at the detail. You probably can't see it very well, but the detail in these only comes out if you magnify it, because the original version of this is the mammals of North America, and then there's also the birds of North America, and the original versions of them were immense, so that the detail jumped out on its own. But you can't do that in a normal size book. Something a little oversized like this is the way to go. And then another Boston art book. This is the Boston Tradition. This is the catalog that went along with a show at the Boston Museum of Art. Oh God, must have been 35 years ago. But I really like it's a tour of the major paintings in the Boston Museum of Fine Arts, and there have been a lot of those, and I like this one a lot. So I kept it, especially since I found it, basically for free. Sorry for the sniffling. And then the next one is also Massachusetts related. This is The Nature of Massachusetts. This is illustrated by Lars Johnson. Let me show you some of his illustrations. Are so wonderful. They're so understated. They're so soft. Is the word that comes to mind, but in a good way. And this just takes you through all the different biomes of Massachusetts wildlife, and gives you an idea of the natural history of each of the animals that live there. I just saw a really good one. Let me see if I can get back to it. Really good. Yeah, look at that. Isn't that lovely? I love these sort of things. I have a bunch of nature guides to Massachusetts, especially since once upon a time, until just recently, I could go out and look at that nature. I am minutes away from the Arnold Arboretum, which is a gigantic nature preserve, just outside of Boston, and you enter through the stone archways, and then you walk for a minute or two, and suddenly you're in the wilderness. You don't feel like you're near Boston at all. I used to take the dogs there every single day, weather permitting. We don't go there anymore, of course, and I don't go there without them. So I don't get quite the experience of seeing a lot of these different animals, but so the books will do instead. And then the last book on this first shelf of the skinny West Wall bookcase is a Viking book. This is the old National Geographic Society book, The Vikings, that has history, yes, of course, and all the National Geographic pictures that you expect. But it also, one of my favorite things about this is that it also has tons and tons of original drawings that are sort of cross-hatched. They're a little corny, but I love them. And I'm a sucker for Viking books just in general. National Geographic does what I'm gonna... this just fell out of the book. Dear Mrs. Hochberger, we are delighted you are planning to sail aboard the Royal Viking Sea on our April 6th cruise to the Black Sea and Mediterranean. As you know, we are planning a full program of special activities and complimentary shore events for club members on this cruise, and feel sure you will find it one of your most enjoyable cruise experiences. To help you get into the spirit of the adventure, we're enclosing a copy of the National Geographic book, The Vikings. Look at that. They gave all the cruise members a free copy of this book. I wonder what happened to Mrs. Hochberger. I wonder if she enjoyed her cruise. Well, anyway, I have her copy of the book now. And that's it. That is the first shelf here. And next time we will move on to the second shelf. I started at the bottom this time around to see if that goes any easier. I'll see you soon, Book 2. Thank you.